Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the August 2023 SBIF District Rollout. We're excited to have you here today to talk about the areas that are open for new applications this month. For everybody watching today, a copy of the presentation will be sent to you via email. You can also rewatch this video on the DPD's YouTube page. Additionally, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. We'll just hang on one more minute to let a few other folks trickle in, and then we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Kim Brisky. I'm the Director of Communications at SummerCore, the administrator of the Small Business Improvement Fund on behalf of the City of Chicago. Just want to welcome you all to the August 2023 SBIF District Rollout. Before we get started today, just a few housekeeping notes. Everybody that is here today watching this presentation will receive an email with a copy of the slides. Additionally, if you'd like to rewatch this presentation, you can do so at DPD's YouTube page. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to enter them in the Q&A box. We have somebody behind the scenes that's answering questions, and we'll also do a more live Q&A at the end of the presentation. And with that, I'd like to kind of get started by turning it over to Nora Curry with DPD to give us an introduction. Nora?
Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and we're glad to have you with us today. My name again is Nora Curry. I'm the SBIF Program Director here at the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, or DPD. As Kim says, SummerCore will be making our presentation today, but I wanted to welcome you to the webinar this afternoon. The Small Business Improvement Fund, known as SBIF, provides grants to small businesses and property owners to make needed improvements to the property. Over the last few years, we've made a lot of exciting changes to the program, including increasing the grants available to you and adding $100 million in new funding to the TIF districts across the city. In addition to available funding, SBIF offers technical assistance from SummerCore and your local delegate agencies. When you submit your application, you'll be assigned a SummerCore project manager. That person is there to help you through the SBIF process. If you run into issues that may delay your project and make you miss your deadlines, please call your SummerCore project manager immediately. They may be able to help you solve your problem. Another great resource, as I said, is your local delegate agency, the local chamber of commerce, or the local community development corporation. Sylvia will list them later in the presentation. They may be the folks who told you about this webinar today. Again, they are also here to help you. They can often help you with the application itself. They can help you find resources like perhaps a local lender, a contractor to help you with your project, or answer questions about the city permit process. So there are a lot of people here to support your application and your whole construction process, excuse me. And that's because all of us want to see your business succeed, and we want to see your neighborhoods flourish. So please seek us out. Let us help you with anything that you need. With that, I'm happy to introduce Sylvia Orozco, SBIF Director for SummerCore. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. Again, my name is Sylvia Orozco, Director from SummerCore. SummerCore is a not-for-profit organization. We are a small business lender that offers SBA loans. We administer the SBIF program as well as the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund program. Now in its 24th year, this is one of the longest running and most successful city programs. We've helped retain and expand small businesses in nearly every neighborhood, with dispersing over $118 million to over 1,900 businesses. Please be advised that this is a non-residential program. The grant cannot be used for capital or operating expenses. It is specifically for infrastructure repairs only. Again, thank you for joining us today, and we'll go ahead and get started. So today we will go over what is SBIF, what is the program mission and grant parameters. How do you get started? Is your business or property in a SBIF district? Which SBIF districts are open or on deck? What are the SBIF program rules? How do you apply and what is the program timeline? And what resources are available to help? We'll provide the list of the districts that are open for August, as well as the sample project. We'll go over some SBIF facts and also have a question and answer session at the end. Launched in 1999, the city's SBIF program promotes economic development by providing small businesses and landlords with reimbursable grants for permanent building improvement cost. Residential projects are not eligible. SBIF grant uses local tax increment financing revenue to reimburse grantees for the pre-approved repair or rehab of their business facilities or adjacent land acquisition. Summer Corps is the program director contracted by the city's Department of Planning and Development. Eligible applicants, your property must be in a TIP district where SBIF funds are available and the SBIF is authorized to accept applications. Landlords are eligible of either commercial or industrial properties. Business owners of both commercial or industrial who either own or lease their places of business. Tenants with written prior approval from property owners qualify as well as startups. They may apply with the business plan and a city license will be required prior to final disbursement. Eligibility limits. If you are a commercial tenant or owner occupied, your gross sales on average must be less than $9 million per year. As a landlord of a commercial or industrial property, your cumulative net worth must be $9 million or less, and liquidity is maxed out per individual at $500,000. So you must meet both requirements in order to qualify for the program. For industrial tenants or owner occupied spaces, you must have 200 or fewer full-time employees. Note that all owner occupied properties are subject to both tenant and landlord requirements. The maximum grant amount allowed under SBIF is $250,000 per industrial property. $150,000 is the maximum per a single owner or tenant of a commercial property or a landlord. $250,000 is the maximum that may be granted per multiple owner or tenants of a commercial property, with $75,000 being the max per each tenant or landlord. Applicants may receive one or more grants up to their maximum program assistance. Once the maximum is reached, the applicants will need to wait 3 years to reapply. So what would you qualify for? If your sales or your net worth falls between $0 to $3 million, your eligibility reimbursement will be capped at 90%. If your sales or net worth fall between 3 to 6 million, you'd be eligible for 60% reimbursement. And if your sales or net worth fall between 6 to 9 million, you'd qualify for 30% reimbursement of eligible cost. All industrial projects qualify for 50% of eligible cost. Here we have a grant calculation example. Let's say that Grace submits an application for a SBIF grant with an open district with a total eligible project cost of $100,000. She's proposing to make permanent building improvements to her existing retail shop, for which she is a tenant. Grace has been in business for 5 years. Over the last 3 years, her gross sales averaged $1.5 million. Here we have a breakdown of her eligible costs as follows. So the total eligible project costs are at $100,000. As a commercial tenant applicant with gross sales under 3 million, she qualifies for a 90% reimbursement. The city's responsibility at 90% is $90,000, leaving the applicant's responsibility at 10% at $10,000. Keeping in mind that you have to be fully financially responsible for paying for this upfront. So think of it as you're paying $10,000 for a $100,000 project once everything is all said and done. Is your business or property in a SBIF district? You can visit our website at summercore.com/SBIF to see if your property is in a SBIF district. Once you get to this page, you can click on number 1. This will send you to the SBIF locator tool. There you will enter your address and it will give you detailed information pertaining to that address. So it's going to tell you whether or not it's in a TIF district. If it is in a TIF, it will list the name of the TIF district. It will list the open acceptance period for that TIF district, and it will also give you the contact information for your local delegate agency. Eligible SBIF districts in Chicago span neighborhoods on the north, south, and west sides. Each month marks a new 30-day period in which SBIF districts with available funds open for applications. Notice of district openings are provided to relevant aldermen, posted on DPD and SummerCore's websites, and included in the SBIF grant. Again, you can visit our website for the most up-to-date list of open and on-deck districts. What businesses and organization types are ineligible to apply? So some of the ineligible businesses include chains and franchise businesses, liquor stores, nightclubs, places of worship, private clubs, currency exchanges, pawn shops, so these are the businesses that do not qualify. It's not all comprehensive. So if you're not sure, you can always check in with us. What improvement costs are eligible for SBIF funding? We cover roofing and facade renovations, components of signs or awnings which are permanently affixed to the building, any alterations or structures that may be needed for ADA compliance, if you need railings or ramps, or if you need to renovate a restroom to make it ADA accessible, we cover those items. HVAC and other mechanical systems, plumbing and electrical work, certain project-related architectural and construction management fees that are related to the approved project can be covered. Certain environmental remediation measures, permanent interior renovations, including light fixtures, the purchase of adjacent land parcels for purpose of expansion or parking only. Again, this list is not all comprehensive, so if you had something in mind, you can read through our full program rules, or you can always check in with SummerCore. What improvement costs are ineligible for SBIF? SBIF does not cover any new construction, whether it's an addition or an expansion from the ground up. Any standalone minor repairs or cosmetic improvements are not eligible. Any equipment-related expenses, such as kitchen appliances, computers, office furniture, anything that can be easily taken out of the building will not be covered. Planters that are affixed or surrounded to the building, any outdoor dining or drinking areas, including roof decks, beer gardens, patios, decks, any fencing, including the pergolas, privacy screens, or similar structures, are not eligible for reimbursement. Parking lot construction, repair, or landscaping, and also work on interior residential units are not SBIF eligible. What are the design requirements? In order to receive funding, the projects must conform to design requirements, including DPD's design guidelines. Projects shall comply with design guidelines and additional neighborhood requirements as described in the guidelines, style guides, community plans, and other planning documents that are associated with the TIF area and the neighborhood in which the property is located. Applicants are strongly advised to consult with SummerCore and design professionals on design requirements and guidelines before drawing up plans for work. All applicants for commercial properties who are approved for a grant of $25,000 or greater shall be required to make at least one exterior improvement using at least 10% of the maximum amount of the approved grants, included but not limited to facade repairs, windows and doors, and other exterior improvements that are eligible subject to DPD's approval. This requirement can be waived at DPD's sole discretion if the applicant can demonstrate to DPD's satisfaction that no exterior improvements are needed because the improvements have been recently completed, or the exterior features of the building have been well maintained and are consistent with the guidelines. What measures are in place to ensure compliance with the program rules? Checks will be performed on all applicants during the approval stage to ensure that they are current on property taxes, complying with child support laws, and not indebted to the city. Any scofflaw debt cleared with the City of Chicago via a payment plan must be in compliance before any reimbursement will be made for eligible costs incurred. Additionally, all applicants must be current on property taxes prior to any reimbursement. Each applicant will sign an economic disclosure affidavit. The grantees will be required to sign an affidavit certifying that they will not relocate outside of the TIF or sell the business within a 3-year period following disbursement of funds. In cases of SBIF reimbursement for land purchase, the proof of land ownership will be required before reimbursement may be made. How do you apply? You can download a copy of the SBIF application at our website. To apply, you must complete the application and email it to SBIF@summercore.com within the open designated acceptance period. What is the SBIF program timeline? So in stage 1, the applicant's eligibility review. The applicant will be responsible for supplying any missing information to complete their application, keeping in mind that the three-page application for the initial submission is just the preliminary application. There will be additional items requested. That is where we grant you 20 days to submit those items. If those are deemed eligible and we can proceed, you will then move into stage 2, which is the project eligibility review phase. Here you are responsible for submitting your plans, bids, and specifications. Any debts that you have should be cured within this time frame. You're granted up to 120 days for stage 2. Please note that stage 1 and 2 must be completed before final review and project approval by DPD. If approved, you will receive your conditional commitment letter signaling that you're able to begin construction. Stage 3, this is upon completion. Once you actually get your approval, this is the project construction phase. The construction phase is 10-month time frame. There is a proof of permit requirement as well as proof of financing. So this deadline is concurrent with the 10-month construction phase. So within 120 days of the approval date, you must submit proof of either your permit or proof that the permit has been submitted to the City of Chicago. Also, proof of financing is required within this time frame. The applicant must provide proof of sufficient funds to complete the project. Again, you have 120 days upon date of approval to submit this item. The applicant must prove that they currently have sufficient equity to complete the project, at least 50% of the funds that are needed to cover the total project cost. Once the project is complete, you will enter the reimbursement phase where the processing takes approximately 4 to 6 weeks for your reimbursement to be processed. Unless DPD has granted an extension of time, applicants who do not complete each stage within the required phase time limit will be disqualified. A maximum of 2 extensions may be granted with DPD's approval in the case of unavoidable delay due to extraordinary circumstances. DPD may also, on a case-by-case basis, grant a grant-eligible application an additional amount of time to complete any program requirements. In such case, DPD shall have the discretion to determine the appropriate length of the extension. What is required to deem a project completed and receive grant funds? Once the construction is fully done, You are then required to submit the proof of payment documentation to SummerCore for review. This includes a copy of the sworn statement, invoices, canceled checks, and final waivers of lien. We also conduct a final site visit to document that the work has been done. We also require copies of building permits. So upon review, if everything is good to go to the city, that is submitted directly to the city of Chicago for processing. And again, the time frame for processing is 4 to 6 weeks. What resources are available to help? Again, you can visit our website at summercore.com/SBIF to access resources to support your SBIF projects. Here we have the design guidelines. We have a list of contractors that previous recipients have utilized. We also have a list of technical assistance providers, additional small business resources, and a list of SBIF lenders. So the list of SBIF lenders is a list that is provided. The list includes some lenders that have worked with previous SBIF recipients to help finance their project. So what we can do is if you use one of the lenders, or let's say any lender, let's say you start off with your bank and you go and ask for a loan, you can let them know that you're participating in the SBIF program. We can sign a bank assignment so that the proceeds of the grant go directly to the lender to pay off a portion of your loan. You will then be responsible for paying off the remaining balance. Get to know your local delegate agency. These organizations are assigned to assist small businesses in the SBIF districts that are opening in August. They are already open. It is already opened to accept applications here. So the Belmont Central delegate agencies are listed, as well as the Western Avenue North and 47th and Halsted, 105th and Vincennes, and Archer Central. So you do have local delegate agencies in your area that are assigned to assist you throughout this process. Here we have the list of districts that are currently open for accepting applications. The deadline to submit an application is August 31st at 5 p.m. The districts that are open include 47th and Halsted, 105th and Vincennes, Archer and Central, Belmont Central, and Western Avenue North. Again, your application must be submitted via email to our general inbox at sbif@summercore.com. Please allow 2 business days for SummerCore to confirm receipt of your application via an email response. If you do not receive an email confirmation within this time, please feel free to send a follow-up message or give us a call at 312-360-3300. Applicants are responsible for making sure submissions are received within the open acceptance period. Here we have a sample project out in 47th and Halsted TIF District. Jorge Torres is a landlord of the property here, and they conducted some renovations both on the exterior and interior of the building. As you can see, this is a drastic upgrade here. So on the outside of the building, they did some masonry work, including tuck pointing, and replaced some lintels, HVAC upgrades, electrical upgrades, as well as plumbing. And they also installed 2 overhead doors and 2 metal service doors. What additional documents should I have on hand to submit along with the SBIF application? While it's not required when submitting the initial application, please note that these items are required to complete the SBIF application process. The required documents vary depending on applicant type. So if you're a business owner, we'll request your business tax returns. If you own the property, we would ask you for a proof of ownership. If you lease it, we would ask for a lease agreement. Some of these documents you will have on hand, and some of these documents we will provide to you to complete and return to us. What are the financial requirements to participate in the SBIF program? The SBIF program is a reimbursable grant, so project participants should be prepared with financing to support the permanent building improvements. Proof of financing is not required until stage 3, but applicants are encouraged to contact their business lender or reach out to one of the lenders listed on the Summer Corps' website in a timely manner. Grantees may choose to complete their project in phases rather than requiring 100% of the upfront costs of the project. Applicants will receive an approval for the full scope of work, and construction will be completed based on necessity and the contractor's recommendations. The phased disbursement will be based on progress or completion of eligible construction work. For example, an applicant approved to complete a roof tear-off, HVAC system upgrade, and the installation of a new storefront under one application can complete the work in phases. Once the roof improvements are complete and proper paperwork is submitted, the applicant can be reimbursed for that work, then use those funds to address the HVAC upgrades and repeat that process to be reimbursed for that and use those funds for the storefront upgrades. Are startups or new businesses eligible? Yes, most startups can apply. Startup applicants will need to supply a detailed business plan and projection of the business's income and expenses for its first 36 months of operation as part of their application materials. The City of Chicago reserves the right to impose additional conditions for funding in connection with the startup business application. If you've been in business for 1 to 3 years, Summer Corps requires tax returns and a projection of gross sales to equal 3 years of data. Please note that bars, taverns, hotels, and motel applicants must have held their applicable license and been in business for at least 1 calendar year. Are you eligible if you live outside of Chicago? The important consideration is where you have your business or your property. To participate in SBIF, the property must be in the City of Chicago, as the funding source comes from City of Chicago property taxes. If you live in another area, please call your city's planning, economic development, or community development department to see what other programs may be available to assist small business. What if your building has both business and residential spaces? This program is primarily for business use, but there are mixed-use exceptions. For these buildings, many envelope projects such as roofing, facade improvements, and tuck pointing can be eligible. Will there be enough SBIF funds for all applicants? Each tax increment financing district that has a SBIF program authorized in it has limited funds reserved for the program. If the demand for SBIF is greater than the available funding supply, then a lottery will be conducted to determine the order in which each grant application may be accommodated. If any surplus funds become available, they will be allocated to waitlisted applicants. Applicants for a property that's located in a Invest Southwest corridor shall be given priority for funding and the lottery. Applicants for properties located in a target corridor shall be second in priority for funding and the lottery. The remaining applicants shall be provided funding if available and placed on the wait list if applicable. After the applicants in the Invest Southwest corridors and the target corridors have been addressed. Can SBIF be used with other City of Chicago grant programs? No. SBIF cannot be used at the same time as the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund or the Chicago Recovery Plan grants on the same project covering the same work. However, you may apply for multiple grants at the same time and select the best fit for your project, provided you stay within the grant timeline parameters that are required. Is there SBIF funding available in your district? Every SBIF area has its own budget that the city refills if it has TIF funds available and if there is a demonstrated need for more grant money. We also maintain an interested parties list for funds, which you can also send an email to spiff@summercorps.com to join. When more funding becomes available or the city allocates more funds, we will let you know. The interested parties list helps the city gauge demand for additional funding. What if I am in a TIF and it is not a SBIF? Tax increment financing is the mechanism that funds the SBIF program. If you are not in a TIF district, or I'm sorry, if you are in a TIF district and it does not have SBIF, please contact your alderman. Again, thank you again for joining us. Here we have the contact information for the SBIF team, as well as both websites. I just want to let everyone know that I do speak Spanish. So if you or someone you know may be interested in the program, please feel free to have them contact me. If they prefer a Spanish speaker, I'll be more than happy to speak with them. Also, we do have the Google Translate available on the city's website, which is chicago.gov/SBIF. Once you get to this website here, you can click on the upper right-hand corner and select the language you would like to have the information translated to. So again, thank you, and a copy of the presentation and a link to the video will be emailed to all attendees.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sylvia. As a reminder for all of our participants today, if you have any questions, now is the time to enter them into the Q&A box on your screen, and we're happy to answer them. But I'm happy to kind of get started with a few questions that we have here and some general questions. First, Sylvia, when you're talking with SBIF applicants, can you talk a little bit about the most common challenges that applicants face when they're getting ready to apply for SBIF?
Sure. So the most common challenges are finding a good contractor and also having the upfront financing for the project. So we require a minimum of 2 contractor estimates. I always suggest you get more. You understand, what it is that they are quoting you. You sort of get a sense of their knowledge, their responsiveness. So I always suggest, reach out to many contractors to try to get as many estimates as you possibly can. You can then decide what contractor you want to utilize as long as they're licensed and insured by the city of Chicago. So another thing is the financing upfront. It's okay if you don't have that financing available to you now, but we do suggest that you start looking into that as soon as possible. It's never too early to check in with your bank, let them know what your plan is, that you're looking to participate in the SBIF grant program. Let them know that we have the bank assignments where the grant proceeds can be written directly to the lender. And also, reach out to the list of lenders that are on our website as well. So that would be the 2 biggest things. Make sure you have, a good contractor on hand and also financing available.
That's great. I think there's a question here regarding mixed use properties. I think we all see those a lot in the city of Chicago, where you maybe have first floor, more commercial space, above is residential. Can you talk a little bit about how the SBIF program can support businesses that are in mixed use properties?
Sure. So we do have mixed use properties that are eligible for SBIF. We can only cover the ground floor commercial level renovations and basically the shell of the property, as long as the applicant does not reside in the building. We can cover the roof. We can cover the facade of the building, masonry work, storefront to the ground level, things of that sort.
That's helpful. Let's say, what if you have somebody here who's already completed some work on their space, or actually are currently undergoing that? Is that something that they can be reimbursed for after the fact?
Unfortunately not. Any work that has started or has been paid for prior to approval from the city of Chicago will not be eligible for reimbursement. If there is something that still needs to be done that hasn't been paid for or started, so we can potentially consider that for reimbursement. But anything that's already been done and paid for, we cannot retroactively pay for those items.
Okay. And I think last question here, can you talk a little bit about doing cosmetic changes versus when you can actually do something? So if you wanted to actually just get new floor, new paint, when is that eligible, and when would that not be an eligible SBIF expense?
So it all depends on the extent of the project itself. So let's say someone's doing a full gut rehab, we can cover the installation of the new floor, new drywall, painting and things of that sort. So if it's just something that, it's just outdated and you just need a nice new coat of paint, you just want a nicer color floor, you want what's out there that's modern nowadays, those types of items will not be eligible. But if it's part of a larger project, then yes, we will cover that. So for example, let's say that someone needs to replace their flooring. I spoke to an applicant today where they told me that there was floor installed directly on top of soil. So in those situations, if you have saggy floors, if they're damaged, if you need to replace the subfloor, we can definitely help with that. But if it's just a matter of everything's fully functional and you just want a fresh new look, that would be considered cosmetic.
That's really helpful. Thanks, Sylvia. Well, and thank you to everybody who participated in the call today. Again, as a reminder, you will be receiving a copy of the slides via email. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Summer Corps, and we are excited to see your new applications coming in by August 31st at 5 p.m. Thanks so much.
Thank you.